Welcome to the Scale with Pros podcast with your host, myself, Cody Barton, the number one place to be if you want to build a business beyond yourself. And for all the resources we talk about in the show, make sure to head over to scalewithpros.com. All right, so let's go ahead and jump in today. So I have with me Blake Manning, and it's actually really funny. I'll let him tell his story, but our paths crossed in the entrepreneurship world, about 10 years ago now, and I'll let him share a little bit more around that. But it's been really cool watching Blake from afar and everything that he's been able to do within building his portfolio of real estate, but then also with his construction business. And so as we dive in, Blake, I'll let you share your story from how you got into entrepreneurship to, now where you're at, what your business is doing today. And for those that are watching the video version, forgive Blake's, video quality. He's out in the country in Texas. So, we're blessed to have him on Wi-Fi. So, we're happy to have you here, Blake.
Absolutely, man. Happy to be here. So, I mean, a little bit about me. I grew up in a construction family. My dad was a home builder, so I grew up, watching him, working for him, checking job sites, riding around with him and whatnot at a young age, and knew I wanted to be, go the entrepreneurial route and be in the construction industry. Growing up, like I said, I worked for him. I had different businesses growing up through the years. I had a consignment business where we sold, things like furniture, ATVs, cars, whatnot. And then I also, in college, I started a flooring and tile business, and it's where we did flooring installation, tile work, bathrooms, showers, things like that. And like Cody touched on, we were in a network marketing business together back in the high school days. That's kind of where it all started back at a young age, but excited to see where it's gone and where my entrepreneurial journey has gone since then. But and so I started with the construction business, working for my dad, and started a few of my own businesses. And then and after college, I started my own construction company, full service construction company, and my dad helped me, helped mentor me through that, and he was a lot of help for me there. And then my dad passed away a few years ago, but he was a great mentor for me, and guided me in the right direction. So, but now we build custom homes, we do large renovations, we do a lot of insurance work like fire, water, storm rebuilds, things like that. And our team, it looks like we have a secretary that handles all the back office work for me. She helps, keep me organized, keep me in line, and kind of help with all the bookkeeping and things like that. And then we have 2 full-time crews that we run for our renovations. And then we have all of our subcontractors and trades like plumbers, electricians, HVAC, sheetrock paint, tile work, etc. So just depends on, how much we have going at the time. We may run 50 guys a day. We may, run less than that. It just depends how many jobs we have and what our day looks like.
Awesome. So having, a small team as far as like that works directly for the company, and then a lot of the trades. And so, what is, revenue wise on an annual basis, the business look like for, over the last year?
Yeah. So last year we did over 5 million, and, which is a pretty good number for us. We've grown every year. And, so last year we did 5 million. This year we should do a little bit more.
That's awesome. Congrats on all the success, and it's super cool to see. And so I do have some questions for you, and most of the people that are listening to the show are really in that 6-figure mark, trying to get up to a couple $1 million a year or more, or maybe in the low 7-figure mark, and trying to get up to multiple millions a year. And so obviously there's stages of business that have to be gone through to be able to get to those stages and a lot of hurdles that business owners have to go through. But my question for you would be, when you were going down that path from, six figures to that initial first $1 million a year in revenue, would love for you to share, maybe some of your, lessons that you learned along the way, or maybe some of the things that you noticed were the biggest game changers that allowed you to get to, that first million a year and beyond.
Sure, sure. And a lot of it is, as a young entrepreneur and early in your business days, you want to control everything and do everything yourself. You're wearing all the hats. You want everything to be perfect, right? And so a lot of times you have to get out of your own way and realize that, there's people that you can hire to do these things, and a lot of times they can do these things better than you. And so that was my biggest hurdle was, letting go of, all the responsibilities, being able to delegate those tasks, get out of the weeds of the things, and kind of oversee it from at a higher level, and just trust that the people that I hire and the people that I rely on are going to do their job at a good level, and that I can manage them from afar and not have to be not as involved in the day to day, all the minuscule decision makings and everything like that.
So what do you think was the realization of that? Because there are a lot of people that they never let go of that. Can you
Right.
remember, maybe a situation where it was like, okay, if I'm gonna keep going, I need to finally let go, and maybe, sharing, I don't know, any of those things that you initially started to let go of and pass off to someone else on your team?
Yep. And so um, initially, I was doing all the work myself. Whenever I had my flooring and tile business, I started out laying the floors, laying the tile. I was in college and I would do it, if I had the time, or I'd hire an installer. And so, as I grew, I started to hire more and more out. And then, at the next level, hiring a secretary was a huge step for me, and getting out of all the office work, paperwork, because those are things that I'm not good at and I don't enjoy doing. It just kind of bogs me down. So being able to do that and then focus my time towards higher level tasks, revenue generating tasks, and growing the business, working on the business rather than being so involved in the day to day. So.
Yeah, love that. Yeah, and that's definitely one of the hardest things for people to do is to let go. And it's interesting because that is typically one of the first one or first couple hires that happen in that range of, going up to seven figures a year, because you can go focus on, marketing the business, selling the business, making sure the clients are happy, and, throwing a lot of the admin work to a, talented team member to just make sure all that stuff's handled, because it's important to have done. Just, obviously it doesn't need to be done by you. Um, so so then you go from this, up to that million point, and then now all the way to this, 5 million a year business. Are there any, what are some of the new lessons that you learned and had to, overcome from, okay, now that's a million, which is great. Now you're, 5+ million a year. What new lessons or hurdles have you identified and had to overcome on that path?
Right. And then, kind of the next level is putting systems in place, processes in place, utilizing technology. So you're not, having to recreate the wheel every single time you get a new job and try to do it a different way. You've got it down to a process, and you can delegate those, early tasks in the job, and less demanding tasks from the operator or the owner of the company. So that way, like you said, you can go focus on the revenue generating. You can go meet new clients, network, and those types of things, and go to events to learn and grow your knowledge. So that was a big thing for me, utilizing technology, delegating tasks, and that's been the biggest help for me.
Got it. So question for you on this. So obviously, now knowing where your business is at, what do you feel like is the biggest challenge now that you're working towards overcoming, to get to the next level?
I would say it's again delegating at a higher level, bringing on a project manager, and trusting that everything's going to be done to your quality and done to your expectations. Because at the end of the day, you have a reputation to uphold, and you want to maintain a solid quality, but trust that your new manager or project manager that you hire is going to deliver and take care of your business like you would. And that's a big challenge for me, and I know that's the next step. But I'm also at a really good point where we're doing really well in the business, and I know that with that next step, you have to put new systems, new processes in place. You almost have to restructure the business in some ways. There's a lot of work that's involved with taking it to that next level. Getting to, you're not going to get to 10 million by using the same systems and processes that you got to 5 million. So there's a lot of consideration to whether that's the route I want to go in a sense of growing to 10 million, or being happy with where the business is at right now, and generating great revenue, good income, and just really being happy with where I'm at right now, and also being able to grow the real estate portfolio and buy other businesses and do things like that, because a big priority of mine is family, and we're expecting our first baby boy here in 2 months, less than 2 months. So I'm really excited about that, and want to be extremely involved in his life and raising him, and going to all the sporting events, all the games, coaching his teams, like my dad did growing up. And so that's a huge priority to mine as well. So it's like weighing those options of, is it, do I want to put in a lot of more work and take this thing to the next level, or am I, happy with where I'm at, and am I looking to grow my other businesses in other ways? So those are some big decisions that I need to make here, and I think this next year is going to be a lot of decision making and kind of looking for some clarity on how I want to address that.
Yeah, no, I love that. And, I think that's something that's not, you know, as discussed that much in just the entrepreneurial world. It's like everyone's always like, grow bigger, grow bigger, grow bigger, bigger team, bigger operations, like all that, right? And it's like, I think sometimes people have to take a second to just, take a step back and stop and just think like, okay, well, what are we building this for? And like, what is what's the ultimate goal of what we want to create with our business? And, that was a realization I had, a few years ago of like, what is the type of business that I want to build? And like, how much responsibility do I want to have, and what type of freedom am I looking for, and what type of profit am I looking for in the business to do the things lifestyle wise that I want to do. And I think it's a really good question that people have to ask themselves, because I think, and I don't know if you've experienced this talking to other business owners, but it's like, I think sometimes people get really caught up in the just building something bigger and, bigger revenues and all of that. But it's like, are you building the business to serve the lifestyle that you want? Because that's very much been my goal, is like, I want to build a business or businesses that serve the lifestyle that I'm trying to create, for myself and my family, from a profit standpoint and like a freedom, flexibility standpoint, but then also like enjoyment of the work that, is being done with the people. Right. And, I think it's really interesting that you brought that up, because I don't think enough people think about, their whole life and like how they're setting their business up to serve the lifestyle that they want to create.
Absolutely, because to me, it's, like you said, you want it for the freedom and the, financial freedom, and set your family up and spend time with your family. And I mean, it's what's your purpose in life, and is there really, what's the purpose of working, all your life to build something huge that, if you don't have time with your family, you don't have good relationships, good friendships, it kind of defeats the purpose. So that's where I'm kind of at a point where, I'm happy with what we've achieved and how the business is running at this level. I know that it's going to take a lot to take it to that next level, as in a sense of putting new processes and systems in. So not sure if I want to take that next step or if I want to keep it where we're at and keep doing what we're doing. And like I said, buying assets and growing my portfolios in different ways other than just the construction company. So, we're in a good place. We're able to take, several trips a year and spend time with our friends and, have a good social life and all the things, right, that a lot of people, if you're just buried in your business, you don't get to do. So, that's kind of where I'm at with it. And, just happy with where we're at and trying to figure out what the next route is and, where we want to take it.
Yeah, so I mean, because it's really like with where the business is at, like revenue wise, like you could probably have someone that could come in, like theoretically, right? Like if that's what you wanted to do, like you could probably hire someone to come in that pretty much runs a lot of the day to day, and like you still have profit you could take out and not have to work in the business as much. Have you thought about that at
Right.
all?
Yeah, absolutely. And then it's just a quality and a delegation thing that I need to work through, in a sense of, because with construction there's a little more liability at stake than just a simple automated business, right? You're dealing with somebody's home, you're dealing with their biggest asset,
Yeah.
um, and so a mistake on somebody's home could be a lot more detrimental than a mistake on a car wash or a laundromat or something. So yeah, I know that's the next step that I need to kind of take, but it's just working through that delegation and taking that next step.
Yeah, no, totally makes sense. So in terms of that, I mean, I'd love to unpack that a little bit because I think that's an interesting direction to go in this conversation. Is with a lot of the folks that come on, we're always talking about okay, growing to the next level, growing to the next level, and I think this would be interesting to take a path at, or take a stab at this conversation because I think there are people listening that are like, I just want to build a business to where I can, everyone has their number. It's like if I could take home 250 grand a year, or 500 grand, or 750, or a million, or whatever that is, they would be like, yeah, like that's my number. I'm good at. I'm gonna plug in someone to help manage the company and be able to, work 10, 15 hours a week, and then be able to, just oversee it. Like I have a good friend actually. He's in a car group with me here in Arizona, and he actually built a plumbing company in California. And he built it for years, and then he slowly integrated in a general manager that he gives some profit share to on the performance of the company. And he's like, it's funny because we talk now, and we'll be at the car show, and he's like, dude, I literally work like 2 hours a week. I'm just like reviewing numbers, reviewing the company's scorecard, and meeting 1 hour a week with my GM on Zoom, and we just talk through any problems or issues. And he's like, I've literally not had to go back to California in like a year and a half since he moved here. And it's pretty cool what he's been able to build. And now he's just like, yeah, I just hang out with my family and like I'm just doing life. And so it sounds
Yeah.
like that's kind of a similar path. He's still buying like, investments and things like, but that sounds like a similar path.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I was just saying. Absolutely, yeah, I totally agree. And like you said, we do have the room to put an operator in there and let that run. So it's just, and that's, I know, like I said, I know that's the next step that I need to take.
So I'd love to talk through it a little bit. So what are all the things that are, if maybe I don't know if there are any roadblocks or anything like that, preventing from taking that next step. Obviously, I understand the quality and those things being extremely important and the care because it is in people's homes. But what else is stopping you right now from just going in that direction?
Um, I'd say that's really the root of it. Just the reputation of the company and making sure people are taken care of.
So it's really then just finding the right obviously getting a hiring flow in place to find the right people to interview, and then identifying the right candidate, and then just having training and onboarding in place to spend time with them for a while before you let them loose. It sounds like then, yeah.
Right. Having the proper training and bringing someone in that's already experienced, so they have the knowledge and the experience to to manage projects and do what needs to be done.
Yeah. So, I mean, outside of that, just as far as like, yeah, we got to make sure the quality's good. Anything else stopping that, or it's like, all right, just get a job description and or anything. I guess anything that I could help with as far as like ideas or anything, because we've plugged in managers to run a couple of our companies, and so we've definitely had some pain of doing some things wrong and right.
Yep,
In doing
yep.
that. But yeah, if there's anything I could help with on that, that's super exciting. Like, that's a really cool stage of business to be in. And I think a lot of people
Mhm.
listening are like, oh my gosh, like that's a dream to be able to be having that conversation of that's my next step.
Yep. No, and we're in a great place, and I'm really really grateful for where we are at. So, and with our real estate, businesses as well, they do well. We have over 50 properties now that we own, and so in real estate and construction kind of go hand in hand. So we're able to utilize a lot of our resources from the construction company to work on our fix and flips and short term rentals, long term rentals, and things like that. So um, just at a larger picture, trying to figure out the route that we want to go with growing, across the businesses and also having a big value on time with family, friends, things like that, and not getting buried in it all.
Yeah, no, totally, totally makes sense. I guess another, I don't know if you've ever thought this route with it, but have you thought about if you did that, then selling the construction business, or you think it's more of like I want to keep it as a lifestyle business for years to come and just kind of have it working?
Yeah, I haven't really thought about selling it. It's my first like real business. So it's kind of like my baby, and I'm a little emotionally attached to it, I guess. But
Yeah.
no, so no. To answer your question, I have not ever considered doing that. But who knows? As the years go on, what might happen, or where what my lifestyle looks like, or where I want to be. So.
Yeah. No, I was just curious. I know some people they're like, yeah, I'm building this thing because eventually I'm gonna sell it, or it's like usually like two paths.
Right.
Like either I talk to people and they're like, I'm gonna build this and I'm gonna do this for the rest of my life. Like we bought part of a cleaning company here in Arizona, and one of the partners there, he's in his mid 40s, and he's like, I'm literally gonna do this until I can't work anymore, and he's just
Yeah.
like, this is what I'm doing, and it's like that's amazing, and so it's like people either are in that camp or it's like I'm building this, I'm getting it to this number, and I'm selling for this amount, and then I'm going to buy a house in the Bahamas or whatever they want to do after.
Right. Yep. No, I hear you, and I don't want to work my life away and work forever until I die. But I had never thought about selling the company. I don't think that's on the horizon anytime soon. But you never know.
Yeah, no, totally. I mean, there's a lot of synergy with all the real estate that you do too, so it just makes
Yep.
sense holding
It all
holding
goes
on.
together really well. They complement each other well, and just yeah, having the resources within the construction company, it benefits the real estate portfolio, really well. And so I think that in the long run, yeah, both of them will just work together.
Yeah, no, totally makes sense. So I do want to hit you with a couple of questions that I think would be helpful for people listening in as well. So for somebody that they want to hire their first like admin or first secretary or EA, executive assistant, whatever we want to call them, right? Like
Yep.
what would you say, like what were some of the things that went well, like when you made that hire, that you would recommend to people that are considering making that hire? And then maybe if there's any things that you wish you did differently, like obviously if it's the same person and it's worked out, awesome, but just maybe anything from like an expectation standpoint, that people should just be aware of, and then
Yeah.
just any best practices that learned by bringing that role in.
Right, right. So I found my secretary through Indeed, like most employers probably do. Went through the interview process and vetted several different candidates, and I've actually had the same secretary for years. So she was my first hire, and she's been with us. She's my first secretary to hire, and she's been with us ever since. So got really lucky with bringing a good one on from the start. I know a lot of people go through a lot of hire and fires, and that can be really frustrating as a business owner. But it's just, having those hard conversations up front, setting expectations, company culture, and not just easing through the process of hiring. Just really testing her and figuring out what she wants and what she's looking for, and making sure you're a good fit. It's a lot easier or it's a lot better in the long run to have those hard conversations and maybe have go through several different candidates than, you figure it out at the front end rather than hiring and firing and going through that process and, wasting time and money to bring on people that end up not working out.
Yeah, I think it's really good advice, and having those hard conversations up front, and I actually had to go through a couple assistants, and I think it was I mean, over the couple years, I'm on my third now, and she is amazing, like
Yeah,
freaking like. She's the best. Like I mean, the coffee that I'm literally drinking here, she like had it ready for me for like this before this podcast was starting, and like
yeah,
just makes
that's
my
awesome.
life so easy in so many ways. She like took my car to service this morning while I was working, so I didn't have to like deal
Nice.
with it being serviced, and like just all these personal life things and business things. It's just she just handles stuff, and it's just I'm so grateful. And so
Yep.
it's I guess I'm also sharing that of like, hey, like it took me a couple tries, and like I was frustrated, and getting to that third attempt, it's worked out great. And similarly, through Indeed, all of our hires, like we've tried ZipRecruiter, we've tried multiple other hiring platforms, we've yet to hire anyone outside of Indeed or through a referral from someone. Those are the only two ways we've hired anyone, is just Indeed and then referrals from people that work here or other business associates that have referred us talent. And um, it's super interesting that similarly that's where you found your girl at as well.
Yep. Yeah. And a lot of people try to go the, family or friend route and try to get somebody cheaper and all
Oh,
these things. And like you
that
said, I mean, it's just that always comes back to backfire people. You're hiring a professional for a business. It's not a good idea to go the friend route. It's not a good idea to try to get the cheapest person, because it's going to end up costing you in the long run. It's going to sour a relationship or something like that. So that's another piece of advice I would give is, as bad as or as easy as it may seem up front to just talk to a friend and say, hey, I've got this opportunity, you want to help me with it. It's way worth it in the long run to go the professional route, go through the process, the right, interview process, and do it right the first time, so you don't sour relationships and don't end up having to do it again.
so true. And I think that's for me, that's one of the things that I just prefer not to hire any friends anyways. Like I'm just like
Mhm.
it's so much easier to hire people through Indeed or through these other sources, and then be able to have those hard conversations. And I have other friends that they have a whole family business, and they got like the kids working in it. They got brothers and they got all sorts of
Yep.
family involved, and they figure it out. But for me, I'm like, I prefer it being, a business environment where it's like, hey, we got a team, like we have fun together, yes, and like we have a good environment and culture, and like we could all be friendly, but at the end of the day, it's like, hey, like we have things to do, and everyone has their specific job responsibilities and key performance indicators to their roles and things that they're accountable for. And it's like you said, it's definitely then a lot harder when you try to bring in a friend or family member, and then you're like having a hard conversation. And that was, this was back in like 2019 is when I tried to hire my first assistant. So it was like 5 years ago.
Yep.
And I just remember it was a referral of a friend, because I was like putting an ad out, and then I had a friend like, oh, like you should hire so and so, and I'm like, oh, great, let's try it. And then it was the worst thing ever. Like it literally
Yeah.
was like
Oh
paying
man.
paying this girl, and literally like she was like inconvenienced to like have to do certain things at certain times of the day, or she's like, oh, like I can't right now to stuff. And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, why am I paying this person full time for, and they're like busy doing other stuff.
Right.
I
Yep.
just laugh
Yep.
now because I'm like, how stupid.
Yeah, it's so true, man, and it's hard to draw that line in the sand with friends, and and separate the two, and it always ends up, somebody has a different mindset on what should be done and what's
Yep.
fair, and so it's just easier to keep it clean and just keep it professional and go about it, go through the professional way of hiring people, and so you don't pay for it in the long run. Absolutely.
Yeah. So when you're talking about like having those hard conversations up front, like what are some of those things? Like someone listening and they're like, okay, I get a hard conversation, but like what the heck? Like what? Like are there certain things I should be asking them, or like certain things I'm bringing up before bringing them on to make sure that we're on the same page? Like anything you'd share on that?
Oh man. I mean, I don't have like specifics, I guess, but just, setting firm on what your expectations are, what kind of vacation time are we looking like? What kind of, what are the hours? What, responsibilities be, have set responsibilities so they know the expectations of what they're supposed to handle. And if they're not taking care of those things, how to address it, and those sorts of things. But really just setting expectations, being very clear on all those things up front, I guess would be the best thing I would say.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree on that. Whenever whether it's for that role or any role, we do at our companies typically, depending on the role, anywhere from like a 2 to 3 step interview process. And part of that's like a cultural part of the interview where we're just trying to see like, hey, from a core value standpoint, are we aligned? And then typically the second part of our interview is a technical interview where we actually want to test some of the skills that they say they have. And
Yep.
and it's actually interesting because our CFO Ben just hired a new gal on our team, a new staff accountant, and there were multiple interviews he went through that they were actually higher titled roles, like they were controllers at other companies and senior controllers and just different higher titles than this one gal that we ended up hiring as a staff accountant. But from a technical standpoint, what was interesting is he had them do like some competency tests on like QuickBooks for the financials and like go through like a 4 or 5 question type test of like how do you handle these finance situations. And she was the one that actually beat all of the other ones. And and it was interesting because even though the other ones' resumes looked better, this person actually had the skill in the know-how and could show it from a technical standpoint. And
Wow.
that's something that we've saved a lot of money and wasted time is doing technical interviews. And maybe that's something, obviously when you go to hire like a general manager, that that's maybe something to look at. But that technical is so key because you really see, and I was joking with someone earlier, we were having a conversation around this, is there's a lot of companies out there that throw out titles to roles like they're like director of this and like GM and VP of whatever, and it's like we don't know how those companies were actually ran or if that was even the right title for that person that they should have had. And so it's
Yep.
nice to be able to actually vet that technical competency. And we've definitely had some roles surprise us where we're like, oh my gosh, this person in the cultural part of our interview was amazing, and then we get to technical and they totally bomb it, and you're like, oh crap, we just dodged a bullet not hiring this person
Yep.
because they couldn't do it. And so and then like you said, it's those expectations of like, hey, like this is the type of company we are. If you're like, for us, like we're always telling people, if you're just looking for like the 9 to 5 mentality where you clock in, you clock out, and like you're literally disappear off the face of the earth before or after work hours, like this isn't the place for you. Like you go
Yep.
to Chase, Bank of America, go to some big Fortune 500 company that is just looking for worker bees. But that's not what we are
Sure.
here. Like you might have to
Absolutely.
do something before 9 and do something after 5, or God forbid on a weekend, if it's needed, what's required, right? So
Yep. Yep.
and
It,
setting those up front is important, like you're saying, because otherwise you end up hiring them, you don't have those conversations, and then now there's friction because you didn't have the right expectation.
exactly. Exactly. In the gray area, and people get those things, twisted, and yeah, it just causes tension, and it's just not a good recipe.
Yeah, no. 100%. So, last couple of questions for you here, Blake, and one would be, I guess, just any book recommendations that you have for that, business owner trying to go from that 6 to 7 figures, or maybe they're at the low 7 figures trying to do multiple millions a year, that, was maybe anything that was like profound for you, that you read, or maybe it was an audio that you listened to that you'd recommend for people to go through?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm not a big book person at all. I don't have the attention span to sit and read a book and whatever.
Yeah.
I'm a big podcast guy, so I
Yeah.
listen to like the business and real estate podcasts. Like Alex Ramosi, Grant Cardone, Bigger
Mhm.
Pockets, Brandon Turner. Listen to a lot of Pace's stuff, obviously, Ryan Pineda, people like
Yeah.
that. So my go tos are podcasts. I like to listen to them. When I'm doing things like working out or doing yard work or just other things. So those are the people that have I've gotten good little nuggets and a lot of good information from over the years. Because books aren't really my thing. I'm more of a podcast guy. I like to stay busy doing things and
Yeah.
not wanting to sit there and read a book. But those have done well for me, and there's a lot of great information out there and a lot of great podcasts um, that really can teach you a lot.
Definitely. And I think it's, I think with education in general, it's not the, that it needs to be in one, particular medium that you're getting it. It's like, it's just that
Yep.
you're getting it, whether it's podcast, whether it's audiobook, whether it's physical book, whether it's, going to masterminds or
Yep.
buying courses to learn more in a specific area, or whatever that thing is. It's like, it's just identifying what that is for you. Like, we have a partner and one of this business called the Plant Guy that we bought into, and our partner there, he's similar in that he's like, dude, I can't read a book. He's like, my mind just goes crazy. Like, if I sit down, he's like, I start losing it. He's like, I can't do
Yep.
it. And so he's podcasts or audiobooks. He's like, I could listen to an audiobook because I could be driving in the car or working
Sure.
out and listening, but he's like, I can't sit and read.
No, I'm the same way, and I feel like there's a lot of entrepreneurs that are like that in a sense because we're always go 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 and trying to do two things at once. Um, so no, I totally can relate to that.
Love it. So, so the last question for you then here, Blake, would be, what if you could think of any or pinpoint anything that's like one of the number one things that you could think of that you would have done differently on the path from starting your construction business to getting to 5 million a year, that you think would have allowed you to get there faster, what would you say that thing is that you would have done different?
Probably getting around people that have done it sooner. So
Mm,
surrounding myself with people that have owned successful construction companies, have scaled their businesses, getting around those people, getting in those rooms, paying for the mentorships and things like that. Doing that sooner. I do that now, and it's done wonders for me, growing and shifting my mindset and whatnot. But if I had done it, 2 or 3 years sooner, where would I be now? And so I would just say getting over that hump of paying for mentorships, getting around people, and taking advice from the people that have done it before you. You're not trying to reinvent the wheel. You're just doing what the people before you have done, and it's obviously they've proven the way, and just relying on their expertise. Trying to absorb as much information and get around those people as much as possible.
yeah, I've always been that way of like, I just want to go fast with everything I do, and I'm like, if I could pay someone else to just give me the information so I could do it today instead of like freaking screw around troubleshooting for weeks or months or years, like,
Yep.
please. I'm like, that's always been a thing that I've been curious about, of, and there are people that are cynical around some of the education stuff where they're like, oh, well, like, the only one that's going to get anything out of that's the one selling the thing or whatever, right? And it's like,
Right. Sure.
man, like, and obviously there are bad,
Yep.
programs out there, which, just like anything in life, there's good and bad. But, man, I am so grateful for all of the money I've spent over the years on, mentors, masterminds, events, and, courses and all of that, because it's just helped just expedite the process and, growing and scaling companies. And I think a lot of people, when they, they sit in that mindset, it's like, gosh, like they're literally holding themselves back by years by just going
Mhm.
this, school of hard knocks of just banging your own head against the wall instead of like,
Yep.
hey, someone else just like pointed at this path, just walk on that path instead of this one over here. And it's like, you'll get there a lot faster.
Right, absolutely, and I think a lot of young entrepreneurs, have that mindset because early on, I guess, whenever they're aren't making as much and a little more resourceful with how they spend, but once they start to make more money and realize they have a little more expendable income and a little more ready to invest in their future and the growth of their business. So, but I would just say, yeah, bite the bullet up front, get around the people, spend the money to be in the mentorships with the right people, and yeah, it'll expedite your growth and exponentially. So,
Totally. It's the whole saying of, birds of a feather flock together, get in those rooms of other people doing it. And, the
yep,
other saying of you're the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with, it's like average
absolutely,
incomes are going to be similar, lifestyles, it's like all of those things, line up. And
100%.
so, so people listening, if you're at a point and you're like looking at your 5 friends that you're talking to on a regular basis the most, and they're not at a point where you want to be in life, you might have to audit your circle and you might have to look at, hey, how are you going to upgrade the relationships that are around you to, help encourage you to go to that next level? Because it's like if you're talking to business owners that are doing, millions a year, or, I have a couple buddies doing, millions a month, and it's like those conversations are different than like talking to an old friend that's like, just working at a specific company earning a salary. It's like that's a very different
Right,
conversation and different caliber issues that you can brainstorm through together.
absolutely, absolutely.
So, well, Blake, dude, I appreciate you coming on and kind of and sharing with everyone. And I really enjoyed your story too, because it is, there are a lot of people that I think really are after the type of business that you've been building, which is an amazing business at 5 million a year, but also the realization of like this is the type of lifestyle that I want to live, and like what that can actually be is something where you can plug in someone else that can run the company at some point, and where you can still do all of the things you want to do in life and not just be a workaholic forever.
Yep, yep. That's the plan. So it's just working through those things, and hopefully a lot of your listeners can kind of relate to that, and we provided some information for them and can kind of help them along their entrepreneurial journey. So
Yes, sir. Well, any final thoughts, and then share where anyone could find you, and obviously we'll put your info in the show notes, but any final thoughts you'd love to share? Or
yeah, man, I'm just grateful for the opportunity. Glad we could hop on here and good catching up with you, man. You can follow me on Instagram. My personal account is bmanning3, and then my company account is manningconstruction_. So we're trying to make more content on the construction side and try to provide some insights on the job process and do a little more there. So should be posting more and doing some cool things to come.
awesome. Well, Blake, thank you so much. And guys, as always, thanks for listening. And as always, make sure to rate the show and share with a friend.